You're standing in your kitchen at 6:40 in the morning, watching the coffee maker blink a number at you that doesn't mean anything yet. 3:47, the time it thinks it is, 2 hours behind, because you never bothered to fix it after the last power flicker. You've been meaning to do a lot of things. You pour the coffee anyway, grab your phone, and see 6 new notifications stacked on top of each other, like they've been waiting for you to wake up before they start arguing. 3 of them are from the same app, your rideshare app, the one you drive for on weekend mornings when your regular paycheck doesn't quite cover the gap between what you make and what you spend. The notification says your city council just capped rideshare fares downtown at $22 for any ride under 4 miles, no matter the time of day, no matter the weather, no matter how many people are standing outside a bar at midnight in the rain trying to get home. You read it once, nod, and think, good. About time somebody did something about the surge pricing. You don't think about it again until Saturday morning, 3 days later, sitting in your car in the app's queue for 22 minutes without a single ride request. 22 minutes is a long time to sit in a parking lot doing nothing. You open the driver forum you're a part of, the one you usually scroll past, and this time you actually read it. Half the drivers in your city have logged off during the exact hours the fares got capped. Not because they're protesting, because a 4-mile ride through downtown traffic on a Friday night, gas included, insurance included, the hour of their life included, isn't worth $22 to them anymore. It was worth $41. It isn't worth $22. You think about the bar you used to wait outside of on cold nights, back before you started driving instead of riding, watching that number climb and hating it every single time. You hated it the way you're supposed to hate it. But you also remember, if you're honest with yourself, that the number climbing is the exact reason a car always showed up eventually. Nobody sent those extra drivers a memo. The price did. Now the price can't do that anymore, and the lot outside that bar tonight is going to have a lot of people standing in the cold with their phones out, refreshing an app that has nothing to offer them. You didn't mean to be part of the problem. You just meant to stop paying $41 for a ride home. Nobody votes for a longer wait. The intention was always a fairer price. But price isn't just what you pay. It's also the reason anyone shows up to be paid at all. And somewhere in between, those 2 facts is every driver who logged off tonight, including, for the first time since you started doing this, you, the bakery that couldn't afford good news. You log off too, drive home with an empty back seat and an emptier feeling than usual, and stop at Marisol's place on the way. Not the bakery, her apartment, though you've spent enough Saturdays at the bakery to think of it as half yours. Marisol Vance opened Larkspur Bread 2 years ago, with a loan from her parents, and a stand mixer that still jams if you don't hold the bowl just right. You used to stop in every week. You haven't in a month. And when she opens the door, you can tell before she says anything that the last month hasn't been kind to her. "Sugar," she says, before you've even asked, like the word has been sitting behind her teeth all week, waiting for someone to let it out. You know what a tariff does to a bakery that runs on sugar and butter and imported chocolate? You don't, not really, not the mechanics of it. So she pulls up a spreadsheet on her laptop that looks uncomfortably like the one you've been avoiding on your own computer. Ingredient costs, month over month, a line climbing steadily since the new import tariffs landed in the spring. 22% more for the cocoa she uses in her best-selling loaf. Not because the cocoa got better, because a number changed on a form somewhere in a shipping port she's never seen. I raised prices twice, she says. Once in March, once in June. Every time I do, I lose customers who like me better when I was cheap, and I still don't cover the difference. She's not wrong to be angry. Nobody voted to make her chocolate loaf cost more. The tariff was supposed to protect a domestic sugar industry 3 states away that she's never bought from and never will. Because the flour mill she trusts and the cocoa supplier she's used since day one are both overseas, and there's no version of buy local that fixes a bag of cocoa beans that don't grow in this climate. You ask her the obvious question, the one you already know the answer to before she says it. Are you going to make it? She shrugs in the specific way people shrug when they've already done the math and don't want to say the number out loud yet. Ask me in October, she says, and hands you a loaf she was going to throw out anyway. Day old, still good, and you take it because refusing it wouldn't help either one of you. $20 an hour, and the hours that vanished. You eat half the loaf in the car outside your own building, and your phone buzzes with a text from your cousin Devlin, who bags groceries 3 towns over in a state that just raised its minimum wage to $20 an hour for anyone working in a store over 30 locations. You remember him being thrilled about it back in the spring, sending you a screenshot of the announcement with 4 exclamation points. This text has none. They cut my hours to 18 a week, it says. Same job, same store, just less of it. You call him instead of texting back, because this doesn't feel like a text conversation. He picks up already mid-thought, like he's been rehearsing this to someone all day, and you're just the first person who called. They didn't fire anybody, he says. They just stopped scheduling us for as much. My manager said the math doesn't work at 20 an hour for a kid bagging groceries during a Tuesday afternoon lull, so now there's no Tuesday afternoon lull shift. There's just fewer shifts, spread over fewer people, and everybody's fighting for the ones that are left. You don't say the thing you're thinking, which is that this sounds exactly like Dale and the Radiator, exactly like the rideshare app, exactly like Marisol's cocoa. A price got set by someone with good intentions, and the thing being priced, his hour, her cocoa, a 4-mile ride, didn't stop being worth what it was worth just because a new number got written down for it. Somebody, somewhere, still has to decide whether that hour is worth $20 to them, and if it isn't, they don't pay the higher wage. They just buy less of the hour, fewer shifts, self-checkout lanes that used to have a person standing at them, a "we're currently short-staffed" sign that wasn't there in the spring. Devlin's not wrong to have wanted more money for the same work. Nobody is wrong to want that. But you hang up the phone thinking about the difference between what a law can set and what a law can actually make true, and it sits with you longer than you expect it to. All the way up the stairs, past your own door, into your own kitchen, where a different number is waiting for you on your own laptop screen. The $9 you forgot you were paying. You open your banking app out of habit more than intention, the way you check the weather without really needing to, and scroll down to the recurring charges section you usually skip past. $14 for a meditation app you used 4 times in January. $9 for a cloud storage plan you upgraded 18 months ago for a work project that ended 16 months ago. $6.99 for a streaming service showing you a show you finished in March and haven't opened since. None of these charges are a scandal. Each one, alone, is nothing. Together, they're $61 a month you've been paying for the privilege of not thinking about them. You do the same thing you did with the rideshare fare and Devlin's hours without quite meaning to. You picture that $61 not spent, not vanished, just sitting somewhere instead, growing the way money grows when nobody's watching it. $732 a year, over 10 years, invested instead of leaked out through apps you forgot to cancel, at the same long-run market average everybody quotes and nobody applies to themselves. That becomes something close to $12,000, not because you earned more, because you stopped paying for things you weren't using. You cancel 3 of them right there at the kitchen table, the meditation app and the cloud storage, and, after a genuine moment of hesitation, the streaming service too, telling yourself you can always resubscribe for a month when the next season actually drops. It takes 4 minutes total. You've been meaning to do it for over a year, the same way you've been meaning to fix the coffee maker's clock, and it occurs to you that the 4 minutes were never the obstacle. Not noticing was. The debt you've been paying off wrong. Canceling the subscriptions puts you in the mood to look at the rest of it, so you do something you haven't done since you opened the account 2 years ago. You actually read the terms on your car loan. 4.1% fixed, on a balance you've been aggressively overpaying every month because your dad always told you debt is debt. Get rid of it. And you believed him the way you believe most things your dad tells you, which is to say, completely and without checking. You open a second tab, the boring kind of curiosity that's been creeping into your evenings for weeks now, and look up what a basic index fund has actually returned on average over the last several decades. It's not a clean, guaranteed number. Nothing in that tab is guaranteed. But the long-run average sits well above 4.1%, comfortably enough that the $200 extra you've been throwing at your car loan every month might be doing less for you sitting in a payoff schedule than it would sitting in an account that isn't in any hurry. You're not going to stop paying the loan. That's not the lesson sitting in your chest right now. The lesson is smaller and stranger than that. You've been treating debt as one single moral category, all of it bad, all of it something to kill as fast as possible, when really it was never one thing. A 4% loan and a 22% credit card balance you also happen to be carrying are not the same emergency wearing two different faces. You've been sending your extra money to the quiet, patient one and letting the loud, expensive one sit there collecting interest, because the loud one didn't have a monthly reminder popping up on your phone the way the car payment does. You move $40 of your extra payment over to the card that night. It's not much. It's the first time in 2 years you've looked at the two of them side by side instead of just paying whichever one asked loudest. What Marisol's sign actually said. You almost don't go back to Larkspur Bread the next weekend, half expecting the note Marisol warned you about. But the lights are on and there's a new sign taped to the register that you read twice before it makes sense. She's dropped the imported chocolate loaf entirely and replaced it with one using a domestic cocoa blend she'd resisted for 2 years because it wasn't, in her words, the real thing. It's $4 cheaper. There's a line out the door for it, longer than you've ever seen at Larkspur, mostly people who never used to come in at all. She catches you looking at the line and shrugs, but it's a different shrug than the one on her couch 3 weeks ago. Tariff didn't ask me what I wanted to bake, she says. It just made the old thing not make sense anymore. Turns out the new thing works. I wouldn't have found out if the old one kept working. You buy 2 loaves instead of 1, not out of pity this time, and drive home thinking about how the sign on her register says something the news segments never quite managed to. That a price going up isn't a verdict, it's a question, and Marisol answered hers instead of just being angry at it. The conversation you'd been avoiding. You still haven't fixed the coffee maker's clock. You notice it again on Monday morning, still blinking its wrong hour, and this time you actually fix it, which takes 11 seconds and 2 button presses, and you stand there a second longer than the task requires, thinking about how many things in your life have been sitting exactly 11 seconds away from being solved. Your manager, a man named Warwick Otieno, has been asking you for 2 weeks when you want to grab time to talk about your role, and you've been finding reasons to push it. A deadline, a headache, a meeting that ran long. You finally message him back before you leave for work. This afternoon works, if you're free. He is. You spend the drive in rehearsing nothing for once, because for the first time in weeks, you're not walking into a conversation carrying a number you're afraid of. You're walking in with 3 of them. You're not afraid of at all. The accounts you brought in this quarter, the process you fixed that used to eat 2 hours a week, and the 6 months you've spent doing work that technically isn't your title yet. He listens, actually listens, the way people do when you show up with facts instead of feelings, and tells you he'll need a week to talk to finance, which isn't the answer you wanted, and also isn't a no. You walk out of his office and back to your desk, and it doesn't feel like triumph. It feels like the 11 seconds it took to fix the coffee maker. Small, almost embarrassingly small, and somehow the thing you'd been avoiding for 2 weeks anyway, what the whole week was actually telling you. Driving home that night, you pass the spot outside the bar,